We're at the end here, folks. The end of the world. I'm not talking about what's going on in the world right now. I'm talking about George A. Romero's Day of the Dead. Let's get into it. Yes, Day of the Dead was released in 1985. It's an hour and 36 minutes long. It was released unrated, the way George Romero did Dawn of the Dead. Had a budget of $3.5 million, made up five and change in the U.S. and about another 20 worldwide. Now, originally, George Romero's script was much bigger, more epic, had a lot more action set pieces in it. But when he went to his financiers he figured he needed $7 million for the movie. They were willing to give him the $7 million, but they wanted it R-rated so they can go out in more theaters and they could actually show previews on TV. An unrated movie, you can't, especially back then, you couldn't show a preview on TV, and some newspapers wouldn't even print your ads for you. But George Romero, being George Romero, and after Dawn of the Dead going out unrated, he decided, I'll take the $3.5 million and make the movie unrated. So he pared down the script a little bit, got rid of some of the more elaborate action set pieces, and focused really what the story is he wanted to tell, and he made the movie for $3.5 million. They shot this movie, in the beginning of the movie, any outdoor scenes were shot in Florida. The beginning of the movie, which is awesome, and I'll get into that in a second, was shot in Fort Myers, Florida. And the rest was shot in Pittsburgh. All the underground bunker stuff was shot in Pittsburgh, outside of Pittsburgh, called the Wampum Mines, which was an old limestone mine that was converted into a long-term storage facility. So they filmed all the underground stuff there. And it really shows the desolation and loneliness of this during this film. This film's very bleak. This is the bleakest of the three Dead films. The original three Dead films. Obviously, George made three more movies before he passed away. But this one's the bleakest out of the original three. And I know a lot of people prefer Dawn of the Dead. I like all of them. I love Night. I love Dawn. I love Day. I like Land of the Dead. The last two were okay. But this is my favorite of the original trilogy of Dead films. And we don't know how much time has passed. And these are totally different characters in this film. But let's go over the cast here quick before we get into the movie. We have Laurie Cardell as Sarah. We have Terry Alexander as John. He's the helicopter pilot for this facility. The only one there that knows how to fly a helicopter, which is it comes into play later on in the film. Joseph Pilato plays Captain Rhodes. And the only thing about Joseph Pilato being in this film, Joseph Pilato was also in Dawn of the Dead. A small role as a police officer. You could catch him when they're at the docks. And there's rumors online, although this is never said, George Romero, even in the documentaries, never say that his character is the same one in Day of the Dead. I know there's a theory that during Dawn of the Dead, since we don't know how much time has passed, that he was a police officer and then he went into the military after that, and now in this movie he's a captain. George Romero has never said either way, so it's all conjecture at this point. It's just fans kind of giving meaning behind why he shows up in this movie as well. But Joseph Pilato plays Captain Rhodes. Richard Liberty, who's no longer with us either, it plays Logan, or Dr. Frankenstein. And Howard Sherman plays Bub, the main zombie. And Howard Sherman does fantastic under all that makeup. Also, we get Tom Savini back at doing the special effects. He had just done Creepshow with George Romero, which was a hit for George Romero. And George always used Tom Savini worked with George again after this film as well. And this is, in my opinion, Tom Savini's a master of special makeup effects. He's done some awesome work over the years. And there's no doubt about the man's legacy. But this movie, I think, is his masterpiece. The zombie effects look spectacular. The gore effects are disgusting but fantastic all at the same time. Tom Savini really knocks it out of the park. It's a makeup effects extravaganza, this movie is by far. I mean, they are allowed to go crazy in this film, and it's great. Also, on Tom Savini's makeup crew is a young Greg Nicotero. Greg Nicotero is the N in K&B Effects, and also he's a producer on Walking Dead. He's directed a bunch of episodes, and he's the producer on a new Creepshow show on Shudder, and he directed a few episodes. So Greg Nicotero is also in the film as one of the military guys in the installation as well. So anyway, let's get into the story. The beginning of this movie is awesome. It sets up the rest of the movie. We don't know how long has passed between dawn and day, but we see these people in a helicopter. We see John, the helicopter pilot. We see Sarah. There's a radio guy in there as well, and Sarah's boyfriend, who's one of the military guys at the base. And they're flying over the city, and they're calling out over the radio to see if anybody can hear them. If there's anybody around, they need help. Like, is anybody out there? We're here. We can help you. Nothing. Dead air. And they decide to land in the middle on a street in the city. And Sarah and her boyfriend get out, and her boyfriend starts calling out over to this megaphone. It's like, "Hello, is anybody out there?" And it's a desolate street. All you see is like trash in the streets, cars parked. Well, not really parked. They're kind of wrecked in that. And an alligator. They show an alligator hanging around on the street, and that's it. And after he calls for a minute or so, all of a sudden these zombies start pouring out of these buildings and start walking towards them. And he takes off for the helicopter, and Sarah kind of just stands there and looks at the scene in front of her and slowly goes back to the helicopter, and they take off. And it's a really effective opening scene. It really shows where the world has gone since Dawn. Dawn, they were kind of like, the apocalypse, the zombie apocalypse was ramping up, but it hadn't got that bad yet. There were still plenty of people alive. The government was still around. They were trying to figure out a way to get rid of it. Well, here we find out they go back to this facility, and up ground, there's some shacks that the military have built, and it's fenced in. There's zombies at the gate trying to get in, but they can't. And there's a helipad, and then there's just an elevator, this flat elevator, stand on it, and it goes down underground to where the facility is. And they say that the government, during the days of where the zombie outbreaks taking place, they set up all these little facilities with scientists and military people for the scientists to do research to try to find a way to stop what's been going on. So when they get back to get out of the helicopter, and one of the military guys, it might have even been Greg Nicotero now that I'm thinking of it, asks John, the helicopter pilot, any luck? And he's like, nope, just zombies. And they walk and they get on the elevator and they go to underground. And there's a little interaction with Sarah and John. Sarah's like, you don't really believe what we're doing here. And he's like, no, I'm just here. I'm stuck here now. I was assigned here. And him and the radio guy start walking off. And Sarah's like, well, if we work together, we might be able to figure this out. He goes, you're never going to figure this out, Sarah. You're never going to figure this out. And they just kind of walk off. Here, they kind of stay away from everybody. They live out in a compound underground in this trailer, and they kind of avoid everybody unless they're called to a meeting or to take somebody somewhere in a helicopter. But they don't really want to be bothered with the shit that's going on. And we do see the shit right away. They go walk into this open room, which is like where they eat, and it's a meeting room. It's a big empty room with just some tables, an American flag, and that's it pretty much, and chairs. And Rhodes is in there with some of his guys, and he asked if they saw anything. No. And Joe Pilato is really good in this film, and some people have said about him overreacting. I don't think so. You're talking about men who are their mental state has been stretched to the point of insanity almost. They've been there. They don't say how long. They haven't been able to find anybody in a long time. They haven't heard anything from Washington, D.C. They haven't seen their families. They've been stuck in this bunker with these scientists. Some of their guys have been dying off slowly, but steady enough that the guys are starting to get freaked out about it. And they haven't seen no results from the scientists. So right away, it's split. The Army guys are not too thrilled with the scientists, and the scientists are wary. They don't know what the Army guys are going to do. And Rhodes and Sarah have interaction. He's like, we're going to have a meeting tonight. And she's like, she gives it right back to him. Like, he's screaming at her, and she's like, yes, sir. Fuck you, sir. Like, she's a very tough chick, very smart, and she plays it very nicely. She's the only girl in this underground bunker with a bunch of dudes, and they haven't seen a woman in forever. So there's always that danger as well. But she goes to her lab. They stop. She runs into one of the other scientists played by John Amplis, and they're talking, and they're like, well, what's been going on with Frankenstein? They called Logan Dr. Frankenstein. He always has his white coat on, his doctor's coat on, but it's always covered in blood. And Dr. Frank, they're all like, Sarah and this other guy, John Amplis' character, are kind of looking at chemical ways to stop this. Dr. Logan's taking a different road, an unusual road. He is Bub in his scientific area, his lab. And instead of trying to find a way to kill it or reverse the effects, he's trying to train the zombie not to want to eat humans. Which, you meet Dr. Frankenstein, and he throws so much logic out and seems okay, but you could tell this dude's about to go off the deep end. He's very calm, though. And they tell him they're having a meeting, and he's like, I don't have time for a meeting. And they're like, well, you better be there because Rhodes is pissed. And so they have this meeting. And Rhodes is giving all the reasons why he's sick of their shit. They haven't come up with anything. He keeps losing men, and they're risking their lives to bring zombies back so they can study them. And he's getting sick of it, and his men are getting sick of it, and they haven't had a paycheck, and they haven't talked. He goes through the whole list of why he's pissed off. And Sarah's trying to reason with him, and he ain't having it. He's screaming and cursing left and right. And then Logan comes in, and Rhodes is like, I told you to be here. You're 15 minutes late. He goes, well, I couldn't pull away. I'm doing important research. And Logan treats Rhodes in a way where he's kind of dismissive of Rhodes. Like, yeah, you got to let me do my thing, and you're going to shut it. And he doesn't say that, but he's very nonchalantly, like, he's not worried about it, but you got to let him alone to do his work. And it pisses Rhodes off to no end, but he doesn't do anything to Logan. He kind of lets him alone. And they say about how they need more specimens. And that's when there's a point of contention, because the guys are like, well, we got to get these. They have this little compound in the back of their they have it fenced off, and they've been stashing zombies there so they can pull them out for research. And the guys don't want to do it anymore because a couple guys have died doing it. Well, they relent and said they'll bring them some more zombies. But Rhodes says he gives them an amount of time to figure something out. If not, I'm going to kill all your freaking zombies. I'm going to take the helicopter and leave. And I'll leave you assholes here to rot. That's pretty much what he says to him. Well, Sarah's boyfriend and a couple other guys go to grab some zombies. And Sarah's boyfriend is mentally unstable at this point. Like, he's coming apart. He's stressed out. Can't sleep. And during them pulling these zombies out, he totally shuts down. And one of the zombies ends up killing a couple guys. And he gets his arm bit. And Sarah has to quickly amputate his arm. And she cauterizes it with a flame. And he runs off, and they take him to the trailer where John and the radio guy are, and Rhodes wants to kill him, and the other guys want to kill him too because they know he's going to turn. But she's like, oh, no, I cut off his arm. He's fine. I'll take care of him. And Rhodes is like, okay, screw it. You just take care of him, and you just can deal with him when he turns. Matter of fact, I know he doesn't want to be a zombie, so it's probably better off. Let him change because he's a coward. And they take off, and this is when they discover what Dr. Frankenstein's doing. Not only is he trying to train Bub, but he's been butchering Rhodes' men who have passed away. And he's feeding their guts to Bub. And Rhodes witnesses this, and he freaking flips out and kills Logan. And he's about to kill the other scientists, too. He's going to kill them all. And he kills the one doctor, John Amplis' character. And Sarah goes back to where Terry is, and they kind of hold Captain Rhodes is like, he wants Terry to fly them, or John to fly him out of there and leave the rest of them there, and he won't do it. And they have Steele, the one military guy, beat the shit out of him, and they start taking him towards where the helicopter is. And at this point, Sarah's boyfriend got up, went to the elevator because he's totally lost it, got up to the surface, went to the gates, and lets the zombies in, and lets them come down the elevator shaft. And from that point on, it's zombie blitzkrieg. Like, they tear apart all the military guys, whoever's left. They get a hold of Rhodes, and obviously Joe Pilato, and his famous last words in this film, as the zombies are ripping out his intestines and eating them, there's a choke on him, and then he dies. He's a prick right to the end. Although, I know you're supposed to hate Rhodes, and you do hate Rhodes by the end of the movie, but at first, I mean, under that situation, people are starting to lose it, so you can see how this is a volatile situation. It's a volatile guy who's on a power trip, and he's kind of losing his mind. And the rest of his troops are losing their minds, too. And even the scientists, I mean, they've been down there for a while, too. Dr. Frankenstein's losing. Everybody's on edge in this movie, and you can see the deterioration of their mental state throughout. And at the end of the movie, they're all dead except for John, Sarah, and the radio guy make it up to the surface, get in the helicopter, and they fly off. Sarah passes out, wakes up, and they're on a beach somewhere on some island, and that's the end of the movie. So there is a little hope some of them got away. And even during the movie, Sarah and John have a conversation about, John's like, oh, I just want to get in that helicopter, go to an island, live out our days the best we can. And Sarah's like, well, don't you think we have an obligation to figure this out and try to stop this? And John's like, you're never going to figure this out. You guys are always trying to figure out God's work. And maybe God decided you're getting a little too big for your britches, so he decided to take us down a peg or two. He says something around those lines. And so he's not willing, he doesn't believe in what they're doing. He's just there. But they come through in the end. They do protect Sarah and help her out, and they get out of there alive, and they get to an island somewhere. They don't say where they landed, but that's how the movie ends, them on a beach, and that's the end of the movie. It's a very dark film, for sure, because there is no hope in this movie. But they do get away, so there's a little hope at the end. So it's not pounding you into submission the whole movie. It's really well done. I think this is the best out of the original trilogy, in my opinion. I know Romero has said in the interview, there's an interview with him on the making of documentary on the Blu-ray, that this is his favorite out of his first three movies. And obviously after this, he went and did Land of the Dead, which he used some of the cut things from this movie in his script in Land of the Dead. But I really like this film. I'd give this movie 9.5 out of 10. I love Dawn of the Dead. I love Night of the Living Dead, but I love Day of the Dead. Don't be tricked. There's two other Day of the Dead movies out there, and they both suck compared to this one. So make sure it's the 1985 version, directed by George Romero, if you're going to check it out for the first time. And honestly, if you've never seen it, you can watch this movie without seeing Night or Dawn. There's no characters interconnected. It's just different points in time during the zombie apocalypse. That's pretty much the only connection. If you've seen the other two and never seen this one, it's definitely, you got to check it out. But if you've never seen the other two and are interested in checking this out, you can check this out without seeing the other two. But I recommend the other two as well. But yeah, that's it for me for Day of the Dead. What are your thoughts on this movie? What's your favorite Dead film from George A. Romero? Let me know. Leave a comment down below. Hit the thumbs up button for me. I greatly appreciate it. It helps the video out with the algorithms at Facebook or at YouTube, not Facebook. And subscribe here. I try to release a video every 3 or 4 a week. It's been a little bit more lately because of what's going on. But that's it for me. Have a great day. Stay safe, and I'll be back soon. See ya.